Hello guys. The history of any abandoned house is inextricably linked to lives of people who used to live there. Usually rural houses passed from one generation of a farm family to another, and when you want to figure out the history of a property, you have to conduct genealogical research of the certain family. However, the abandoned house I'm heading to today broke this tradition, and its clouded past is a sort of mystery. Fortunately, tons of vintage stuff I found in this house could tell me some interesting facts about people who lived there many years ago. But right now, I'm just going there, enjoying the start of the summer, and I don't know what discoveries await me in an hour. This barn perched by the overgrown field is first structure on my trail to the house. Don't know its exact purpose, just can make an assumption. This is a kind of stable or cow barn. It's so cool to see it completely free from graffiti, beer cans, and debris. Afraid I'll never understand what makes some people take spray paint and go destroying historic places. First curious find, stirrups, a part of horse tack. They really might keep horses here. Second structure on the property is the house, my main goal of today's exploration. I've been keeping an eye on it for the last month, trying to understand if the house is really abandoned and accessible. Need to take a look around the house to make sure if everything is calm. One of the urbex rules is to be invisible and noiseless. Well, the second floor windows are smashed. The yard definitely is being kept in neglect. No frightening posters, trail cameras, and nobody is hanging around. It seems in fact the house is abandoned and forgotten. Let's get closer. According to the old maps, first residential structure had existed on this place in the early 20th century, but it disappeared without a trace. The public records of New Jersey allege this house was built around 1940. A rotten mattress here, an old TV, a pile of rusted stuff, baby cradle, nothing impressive. Old newspapers are always interesting artifacts. Besides the fact that they are interesting in themselves, old press may help clarify last name of the tenants and year when they left the house. In this family room, I stumbled upon tons of incredible vintage stuff belonged to last tenants who lived here in 1990s, the Hewitt family. But I would like to follow the historical chronology, and I will begin the story from first owner I managed to find out. It was the Alsop family, Thomas and Elizabeth. They lived in New York before Second World War, married in 1934, and had only son Peter Schuyler Alsop. Thomas Alsop's occupation was real estate. Curiously, he was a relative of Sarah Voorhees and one of numerous descendants of Stephen Curtin van Voorhees. I've recently made a video about that family. You could find it in the description to this video. Elizabeth Alsop was a descendant of a Philadelphia merchant Benjamin Mifflin, the author of a curious historical work known as Benjamin Mifflin Journal about Benjamin's journey on horseback from Philadelphia to Dover, Delaware in 1762. In 1961, Thomas and Elizabeth Alsop sold the property to the Hooper family. Walter Hooper and Marion Hooper moved from New York, where Walter worked as a time study engineer. They had two daughters, Kathy, Bronwyn, and the oldest son, Timothy. The house had remained in this family for 6 years. In the 1960s, the government decided that additional water supply resource was needed for state of New Jersey. The area was determined as a possible location for such a site. In a process that took place over several years in the 1960s, properties were purchased by the state for the developing additional water reservoir in the central Jersey. Same fate caught up with this house in 1967, and the Hooper family had to sell the house and move. Around 1993, alternative water sources had been found and the project was closed, like similar odious project in Delaware Water Gap. No longer immediately needed, the lands and houses were transferred to the Division of Parks and Forestry. Some of houses in the area have been preserved as historic properties, some had been rented out like this one. One more artifact, the George and Sandy wedding album. Unfortunately, I couldn't figure out who they were to the last tenants. Hope they are still doing well after 28 years. The last object in this room, the photo of General Beauregard Shields. I think he was an ancestor of the family that used to live here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's an original photo. This wooden sign with the carved Hewitt last name was the start point in my research of the past of this abandoned property. Thanks to it, I could learn that the house had been rented by the Hewitt family since the end 1990s until about 2008. The family consisted of Richard Hewitt, his wife Renee, and his mother Martha. Pretty sure all vintage stuff in the family room belonged to her. They were last family who lived here. This bedroom keeps some cool historical artifacts which worth a closer look to reveal their secrets. I always check all old photos and paintings I manage to find in abandoned houses for the presence of any notes and dates on the back. Believe those notes may be a real gem for history lovers. In addition, I use them as a clue in historical investigations, and this clue can't be underestimated. Here and now, I'm incredibly lucky to find this list on names on the back of the vintage photos. I managed to track the history of this family tree. Its long history in the United States started from Edward Griffin, one of pioneers who arrived in America with his parents around 1630 from the United Kingdom. He married Mary Griffin in 1648 in Flushing, British colonial America. They were the parents of at least 6 sons and 6 daughters. Thomas Jefferson Griffin was his grandson. He worked at varnish factory. His wife was Hester Larkey Griffin. It was her in the second photo at the wall. They were the parents of at least 1 son and 2 daughters. The oldest daughter is mentioned in this list, Lottie Griffin Wanless, aka Charlotte Frances Griffin. Her husband William Richard Goff Wanless was from New York according to the census records. He worked as an agent when he was young, but I couldn't read his later occupation. Something like traveling salesman. The clerk who made this record had horrible handwriting. Unfortunately, the time hasn't preserved any details about the lives of those people. Only thing we can analyze is church and census records. One of William and Lottie's children was Harold Jefferson Wanless, this person in the list. According to his Second World War draft registration card, he worked as self-employment in the agricultural sector. His wife Helen gave birth to their only daughter Gail Wanless in 1927. Gail graduated the School of Occupational Therapy at the University of Pennsylvania, where she was also a member of the Delta Gamma sorority. Not sure if it's acceptable to publish her photos without permission of her children, so I blurred them. Her husband Jack Gokenor was a banker. Sad Gail recently left us in 2017 in New Jersey. Last 3 persons on the back of the old photos are Joan, Thomas, and Hans, children of Gail. I even found and messaged each of them on Facebook. Wanted to send them the photos of their grandfather and mother, but got no response. Don't know why. If you guys are watching this video, sorry, I didn't mean anything bad. Just wanted to figure out how the photos of their ancestors could end up in this forgotten homestead in the heart of New Jersey. Although of course those vintage photos and stuff gave the abandoned house a special charm and a bit of mystery.